Okay, I want you to picture your Friday night.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a long week. You're tired. The fridge is, empty. And you do what pretty much all of us do. You grab your phone, open an app, and you order a pepperoni pizza.
Right.
It shows up 30 minutes later.
Mm-hmm.
It costs, what, 25 bucks? Maybe 30 with the tip?
Depending on where you live, yeah, 30 is probably the floor these days.
Right. It's a transaction we don't even think about. But I want to ask a question that sounds, well, a little ridiculous at first.
Okay.
What if skipping that single pizza, just one pie once a week, could eventually pay for your car or your rent? Or, if we really stretch the timeline out, what if that skipped pizza could replace your entire job?
See, usually when I see headlines like turn pizza into a salary, my brain immediately goes to scam.
Yeah.
It sounds like magic beans or some crypto pump and dump.
That was my exact reaction to the source material we're covering today. It's called the pizza principle. We're looking at a breakdown from the Money Strategist, and they claim this isn't magic, and it's definitely not a lottery ticket. It is just math. A very specific, boring, but surprisingly powerful kind of math.
I've gone through the spreadsheets provided in the source, and I will say this right off the bat. The math actually checks out. It is not a get-rich-quick scheme. In fact, I'd argue it's a get-rich-excruciatingly slow scheme.
Right.
But it effectively bridges the gap between the $25 in your pocket right now and a full-time passive income.
And that is the mission for this deep dive. We're going to walk through exactly how to turn a $25 weekly habit into a $4,000 monthly income stream.
We are.
We're talking about generating $48,000 a year without lifting a finger. But I have to play the skeptic here because looking at the numbers, there was a massive gap between 25 bucks and 48 grand.
There is a massive gap, and that's what we need to unpack.
So let's look under the hood. The engine here is dividend investing. Now, I feel like people hear the word dividend and their eyes glaze over. It sounds like something your grandfather worries about while reading the newspaper. Can we get a plain English translation of what a dividend actually is?
Sure, it's actually pretty simple. When you buy a share of stock, you aren't just betting on a digital number on a screen going up.
Yeah, okay.
You are buying a legal partial ownership of a real business.
So I'm not just a gambler, I'm a partial owner.
Exactly. You own a tiny slice of the corporate pie. Now, a lot of companies think Amazon or Tesla take every single dollar of profit they make and plow it back into the business to grow bigger. They don't give you any cash.
Right.
You only make money if you sell the stock later for a higher price.
Right. Buy low, sell high. That's what everyone thinks investing is.
But other companies, usually the more established, profitable ones, they decide to take a chunk of that profit and hand it directly to the owners. They send you cash. That cash payment is the dividend.
So I don't have to sell the stock to make money.
No, and that is the critical shift. Most people think to get money out of the market, you have to kill the golden goose to get the egg. You have to sell the asset.
Right.
With dividends, you keep the goose, and it lays an egg every quarter.
And that egg, that cash lands in my account whether the stock market is up or down.
Precisely. The market could crash tomorrow. The share price could drop 20%. But if the company is healthy and keeps making money, that check still clears. That's why it's the preferred method for replacing a salary.
Because it's consistent.
Your bills, your rent, your car note, those are recurring. So you want an income source that is also recurring, not dependent on whether it's a good time to sell.
Okay, so that's the mechanism, passive cash flow. But let's look at the price tag. The source material targets $4,000 a month in passive income.
Mm-hmm.
That's $48,000 a year. I mean, that's a median salary for a lot of people.
It covers the basics: housing, food, transport.
But to get that kind of cash flow, assuming a realistic yield, how big does my pile of money need to be? Because it's not small.
This is where the cold water hits your face. To generate $48,000 a year comfortably, assuming a blended yield of about 8%, and we'll explain how to get that later, you need a portfolio worth roughly $600,000.
600 grand. Okay, I can hear the listeners checking out right now. They're thinking, I don't have 600 grand, I have 25 bucks. This is for rich people.
That is the hurdle. It sounds impossible. But the whole point of this strategy is that you don't need the $600,000 now. You need the habit that builds it.
Yeah.
The source isn't saying invest $600K. It's saying invest the pizza money until it becomes $600K.
But let's be real about the timeline. If I am starting from zero, literally zero, and I just put in my pizza money, 25 bucks a week, how long until I hit that $600,000 number?
If we assume a 10% average return, which is the historical standard for the broad market with dividends reinvested, you are looking at roughly 25 to 28 years.
Oof, 28 years. That is a lifetime.
Mhm.
That's an entire career. I mean, asking someone to skip a treat today for a payoff almost 3 decades from now, that's a hard sell.
It is a hard sell. I won't sugarcoat it, but flip the perspective for a second. You're going to be 28 years older anyway.
That's true.
That time is going to pass regardless. The question is, would you rather arrive at that age with a paid-for life or without it?
That's fair. The time passes anyway.
And remember, this is money you literally would have eaten.
Huh.
It's not money you're sweating for. It's not your rent money. It's money you salvaged from a temporary treat that you would have forgotten about by Monday morning.
Okay, so it's set it and forget it.
Right.
Let's get into the logistics, the how-to. If I decide, okay, I'm in, I'll skip the pizza, where do I put the cash? I can't just stuff it under the mattress because inflation will eat it alive.
Right. Step 1 is the wrapper, the account type. If you're in the U.S., the source recommends a Roth IRA. That way, your money grows tax-free, and when you finally take that income out in retirement, the tax man can't touch it.
And for our listeners in Canada.
You'd look at a TFSA. Same concept, tax-free growth. If those accounts are maxed out, a regular brokerage account's fine. You just have a bit more paperwork come tax season.
But the account type matters less than the behavior, right?
100%. The
Yeah.
most critical step is automation. You cannot rely on willpower. You have to set up an auto transfer. $25 from checking to brokerage every single Friday.
The source had a funny line about this. What if that $25 transfer makes you overdraft?
Yeah, it said, if $25 breaks your bank, you don't have an investing problem, you have a budgeting emergency.
Wow, harsh.
It's harsh, but true.
Yeah.
If you can't spare $25, you need to fix your baseline spending first. The overdraft is just a symptom.
Okay, let's assume the money is moving automatically. Now, what do I buy? The source material warns against just buying the market generically.
Yeah.
If I just buy the S&P 500, the dividend is tiny, right?
Right. A standard S&P 500 fund pays about 1.5%. At that rate, you'd need millions of dollars to hit our income target. That won't work for the pizza principle.
Because what's the plan?
The source suggests a secret sauce allocation, a specific mix to juice that income without taking crazy risks. It's a 60-40 split.
Let's break down the 60% first.
The 60%, the foundation, goes into dividend growth ETFs. The source specifically names tickers like SCHD or DGRO.
And what makes this special? Why those specific tickers?
These funds hold companies that don't just pay dividends, but raise them every year. Think of companies like Coca-Cola, Home Depot, Chevron.
Okay.
They might start with a 3.5% yield, which is okay, but the goal is that the payout keeps up with inflation. This is your safety net. If milk and eggs cost more in 10 years, these companies will likely be paying you more too.
Okay, but 3.5% isn't going to get me to $4,000 a month anytime soon. That's still pretty slow.
Right. That's where the other 40% comes in. This is the accelerator. You put this chunk into covered call ETFs. The source mentions tickers like XYLD or JEPI.
Now, covered call sounds technically complex. I know we don't want to get into the weeds of options trading, but what are they actually doing to generate money?
Let's simplify it like this. These funds own stocks, but they agree to cap their future upside in exchange for cash right now.
Right.
They are basically selling the dream of the stock doubling in price and taking a guaranteed paycheck instead.
So they sacrifice growth for immediate income.
Exactly. These funds often pay 10 or 12% yields. They are income monsters, but the share price probably won't go up much. They are designed to be cash cows, not growth engines.
So here's my question. If I want to retire fast, why not just put 100% of the money into the high yield stuff? Why mess around with the slow growers if I can get 12% right now?
That is the classic yield trap. If you chase those double-digit returns exclusively, you take on huge risk. First, if the market dips, those funds can crash hard. Because they cap their upside, they take forever to recover. Second, if a fund is paying 12%, that dividend isn't always safe. If they cut it, you lose income and your share price tanks.
So you get it hit on both sides.
Exactly. By mixing them, 60% steady growth, 40% high income, you get a blended yield of around 6 to 8%. It's the sweet spot.
Got it.
You get enough cash to reinvest rapidly, but you own enough solid companies to protect your principal.
Got it. Don't get greedy. Balance the portfolio. Now let's talk about the magic ingredient that makes the $25 actually grow. Compounding.
The eighth wonder of the world.
Specifically, the acronym DRIP.
DRIP, Dividend Reinvestment Plan. Most brokerage apps have a toggle for this. You turn it on, and when your pizza stock pays you 50 cents, the app automatically uses that 50 cents to buy a tiny sliver of more stock.
So I don't spend the dividend yet. I feed it back into the machine.
And then that new sliver earns its own dividend next quarter, and that dividend buys another sliver. It's a snowball rolling downhill.
Right.
At first, it's a pebble,
Okay.
but give it enough runway, and it becomes an avalanche.
The source material breaks this down with two scenarios, Abby and Ben. I think this helps visualize the grind, because 25 years is a long time to wait for an avalanche. Let's look at Abby first.
So Abby is the steady Eddie. She's 23 years old. She starts with 0. She commits to the pizza principle, 25 a week. But she does one smart thing. She increases her contribution by 3% a year.
Which is basically just matching inflation or a standard job raise.
Exactly. Year 1 is $25. Year 2 is maybe $26. It's painless. Now, here's the reality check, and this is where most people fail. After 8 years of doing this, 8 years of skipping pizzas, her balance is only $20,000.
Only 20.
And her dividend income, it's like $120 a year.
Wait, 8 years? That's almost a decade of discipline. She's missed 400 pizzas, and she can barely buy a nice dinner with the proceeds. That is incredibly demoralizing.
That is the valley of disappointment. That is the filter. That's why most people don't do this. It feels like it's not working.
Yeah.
But the math is exponential, not linear. She has to keep going.
And what happens if she pushes through?
By year 15, the curve goes vertical. She hits 70,000. By year 23, she breaks $250,000. And by year 28, she's 51 years old now, she hits the $600,000 mark.
Wow.
She's now collecting $48,000 a year.
So at 51, while her friends are worried about layoffs or ageism in the workplace or how they're going to pay for their kids' college, she has a backup salary.
She is bulletproof. She could lose her job and still pay the mortgage. She has options.
Now, compare that to Ben. Ben is the accelerator. He's impatient. He looks at Abby's chart and says, 28 years is too long.
Right. Ben follows Abby's plan, but he adds boosters. He finds a way to add just $10 more a week. The source mentions walking a dog once a week, but it could be anything: mowing a lawn, selling digital art. So he invests $35 a week instead of $25.
And he uses his tax refund, right?
He takes a $500 tax refund every April, which is a pretty standard refund size. And instead of buying a TV, he dumps it into the account.
These still seem like small amounts. $10, $500 once a year. Does it really move the needle on a $600,000 goal?
It's massive. Because of compounding, those early extra dollars work harder. Ben hits his break-even month, where his dividends cover his expenses, 4 years earlier than Abby.
4 years.
He's done at age 47.
He bought 4 years of his life back.
Huh.
4 years of freedom just by walking a dog and investing a tax refund.
That's the takeaway. You don't need to win the lottery. Small inputs applied consistently over long periods equal massive freedom.
I want to pivot to the rules of the road, because life isn't a spreadsheet. Things go wrong. Cars break down. Roofs leak. If all my money is locked up in SCHD and JDPI, isn't that risky?
It's extremely risky if you don't have a shield. The source is very clear. Before you buy your first stock, you need an emergency fund.
How much?
Start with $500, just enough to cover a flat tire or a minor vet bill. If you don't have that cash sitting in a savings account, you'll be forced to sell your stocks when an emergency happens.
Right.
And Murphy's Law says the emergency will happen exactly when the stock market is down.
You never want to be a forced seller.
Never. Eventually, you want that fund to cover 3 to 6 months of expenses, but start with the $500 buffer so you don't raid the pizza fund.
There was also a really interesting mindset shift mentioned regarding market crashes. The source says we should actually like them.
This is hard for people. The news screams, Dow crashes 500 points, and everyone panics. But if you are in the accumulation phase, if you are Abby or Ben, you should be cheering.
Because my $25 buys more shares.
Exactly. If you went to the grocery store and steak was 20% off, you wouldn't panic, you'd fill your freezer.
Good point.
If the market drops, your auto deposit picks up more units, which means more dividends later. You have to stop looking at the account value, the total dollars, and start looking at shares owned. That is the only score that matters.
The source also had a funny anecdote about found money. It involved a bicycle helmet.
Yeah, that was a great little detail. The writer talked about selling an old bike helmet on a classified site for $23, and he put that money straight into the portfolio.
There was a joke attached to that, wasn't there?
Yeah, he said he listed it cheap. He wrote, "Give a discount on the helmet, otherwise the girl buying it will run you over."
Safety first.
But the principle is sound. If you find 20 bucks in an old coat pocket or you sell some junk on Facebook Marketplace, don't buy a coffee, buy a share.
Yeah.
It speeds up the clock. It's about scavenging for your freedom.
So let's fast forward. It's been 25 or 28 years. We've skipped 1,000 pizzas. We have the 600,000. We're making $4,000 a month. What happens then? How do I actually use the money?
That is the end game. You log into your brokerage account, you find that DRIP toggle we talked about, and you turn it off.
And the cash just flows to me.
It flows right to your checking account. You're financially free. And here's the best part, the part that really blows people's minds. You still own the $600,000 in shares.
Right. You're not selling.
You aren't selling the principal, you're just living off the rent.
So if I live another 40 years, the money never runs out.
In theory, no. You pass the shares to your kids or your charity, and because of the growth component, the SCHD part, your salary should technically get a raise every year to keep up with inflation.
It's a perpetual motion machine.
As close as you can get in finance.
It's a compelling argument.
Yeah.
But I keep going back to that slow start. I feel like that's where people fail. That first year where you make, what, $12?
It is. The first year, your dividends might barely pay for your Netflix subscription. Or maybe just a single month of it. It feels trivial. The source suggests gamifying it.
Yeah.
Tape a progress report to your fridge.
Hey, honey, our dividends now pay for the water bill.
Exactly. Celebrate those little milestones. If you wait for the $4,000 check to celebrate, you'll quit in year 2.
Yeah.
You have to celebrate the $5 check first. My money bought me a coffee.
Then lunch.
Then my money bought me lunch. Then my money paid the electric bill.
You have to see the progress to believe in the destination.
You do. You have to remember that every great oak tree started smaller than a coin. You protect the habit, you feed it when possible, and you let decades do what decades do best.
The source left us with a pretty powerful image to close on. It was about visualizing your future self.
Yeah. It really stuck with me. Think about it. There is a version of you 20 years from now. That person is real. They are waiting for you to arrive. That person is either stressed out, working a job they might hate, worried about money, or they were sitting on a beach or in a garden collecting checks and owning their time.
And that reality exists.
It exists in your future timeline. The only thing separating you from that reality is ordering water instead of pepperoni this Friday.
It puts the choice right in your face. It's not about the 25 bucks. It's about buying your freedom.
One Friday at a time.
Well, I think I'm going to go check my bank account. And maybe learn how to cook something simple for dinner.
Your future self will thank you.
Thanks for deep diving with us. Hopefully the pizza principle gives you something to chew on, pun intended.
Keep learning.
We'll catch you in the next one.